All right, so one last thing. I got about 5 minutes before I start to open this up for questions. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and open up a show set. There's an artist that I've worked with. I've worked with him in the past. We've been working together for the whole past year. His name is Saul Williams, and he recently put out an album called Martyr Loser King. There was a remix album that dropped about a couple months ago. I did a remix for, and we're performing tomorrow actually at Afropunk in Brooklyn. It's a pretty big deal. It should be a lot of fun. And what I want to show you is his show set compared to my personal show set. So we're not going to save these changes. And eventually this will open up. Aha. All right. Now this already is mapped because this is the actual show set that we use. This is not like some demo template. This is the show set. And this is set up very differently because with Saul's show set, it's not about triggering full songs and DJing with them, blending between them. His show set, he wanted to basically take stems from his original songs. When we're talking about stems, we're talking about groups of similar sounds. So for instance, there's a song here called Groundwork, and we have stems for the drums, for the bass part, the guitar, any keys, and then there's separate stems for different vocal parts to sort of back up what he does live. So our concern wasn't about using the crossfader. It wasn't about necessarily MIDI mapping all these crazy glitch-based effects. What I did need to do, though, is be able to scroll through the scenes, which, let me see, is this mapped? Oh, you know what? I'm tripping. I'm not in my user mode. Let's stop that. Okay. I've mapped all this to the user mode, too. So let me go to my user mode first. And in my user mode, the same way that we mapped the scenes before, I can control the scenes. Oh, you know what? I keep forgetting to show you guys stuff. You probably want to see what I'm talking about. Here we go. All right. This is the Saul Williams show set. Okay. And if you look at this, we can see a number of scenes here. We can see different tracks that are set up. Each track has clips of a specific type, stems of a certain type. And I've set this up so this can all be controlled from Ableton Live. From Push. Of course it's Ableton Live. All right, so let me move this out of the way. Now, if we look at Live, what I need to do is I need to be able to select specific scenes, just like I did in the last set. So MIDI mapping that is the same as what we did before. I hit my MIDI button, buttons show up down here, which you can't really see right now. Let me go ahead and increase this. There we go. Buttons show up down here, and these buttons can be mapped to allow us to scroll up and down through scenes. Now, in addition to that, what I wanted to be able to do was be able to control my Insta-Jungle effect, which in this case is only controlling sounds that are coming from this drum stem. So let me go ahead and just play something really quickly. I'll play an intro track. This is not one of Saul's songs. This is one of my beats that we use for intros sometimes. So I'm scrolling up to this scene that says bump, bump. I launch that scene. Both clips are playing. So in this case, I'm not trying to launch an individual clip in a track. I'm launching entire scenes. So because of that, if I go back to my MIDI map mode, the first button that was here, let me go ahead and just delete that MIDI mapping. This lets me launch an entire scene. So I didn't need that for my last set. I do need it for this set. And since I have a play button here on Push, it made sense for me to just map the scene launch button to the play button. So that's cool. And again, with the last set that I was doing, I had everything set up so that it was all running through one specific return. In this case, I got everything set up so that just the drum stems get affected by the effects that I use. I already talked about how to set up stutter edit, so that's been set up here the same sort of way. Two things that I did a bit differently. I have two auto filter devices. One of them set up as a low pass filter. Oh, and you guys can't see that. Let me move Push out of the way. Let me see. There we go. So one of my auto filter devices is set up as a low pass filter, which is here. And my other auto filter device is set up as a high pass filter, which is here. I have buttons below them so that at any point I can activate that particular filter, do a filter sweep, and then turn it off. So these are things that I'm using at certain parts in the show set for individual songs. We've got beat repeat as well. Let me go back over here. So I can run audio through beat repeat, and then I got my trusty Insta-Jungle effect. So if I play this again, what I just talked about before, being able to map Insta-Jungle, I did the same thing here for the show set that we actually are doing tomorrow. Insta-Jungle turns on with this button here. Control the sync rate with these buttons here. I've got 2 rows of buttons that aren't being used that I can use to affect stutter edit. And again, I gave those light feedback so we can see the colors come on when I press them. I've got 2 rows of buttons here that are affecting beat repeat, so I can turn beat repeat on here. I can turn on the repeat button on beat repeat here. Then I can affect the pitch decay. So all that's well and good, all right? But again, the main thing is being able to use the user page to control things in the way that you want. So this is the last thing I'll touch on, and then I'm going to open this up for questions. It's really helpful to be able to have a sense of the tempo by looking at push without needing to stare at the computer or rely on hearing a very percussive beat. Oftentimes, especially in this show set, there's songs that start with no drums, and it's important for me to have a sense of what the rhythm is, even though there's not an actual drum beat playing, because I'm not going to turn on the metronome and just bump that in my headphones. So another good use for light feedback. If I press this button here, it's kind of hard to see. Let me make push a little bit bigger. The buttons here are basically ticking every quarter note, every beat, and they're following each other. This is my visual metronome, and this is extremely useful for live shows. This is really, really, really easy to set up. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this, and then I'll open this up for questions. So let me go back into Ableton Live. There we go. And I'm going to move push out of the way. There we go. And I have a track. Is this my track? No, those are returns. We have these. Where is my MIDI track? Let's see. I'm just trying to make sure that I actually have this up here. I can't see it right now. Is this it? Light feedback. Here we go. All right. So I have a whole group of MIDI tracks set up to give me light feedback. We have instant jungle light feedback, instant jungle speed light feedback, beat repeat filter, and the metronome. So if we scroll down, I have buttons or pads down here that were set up to control the metronome. I'm going to basically just delete every single clip in this track, and I'm going to set this up again. So we know that if we want pads to light up, all we have to do is just map that pad to a dummy clip, a blank MIDI clip, and we trigger that pad, it triggers the clip then lights the pad up. So I want to make it so that each pad that I press will make it so that the next pad lights up a quarter note later. I can do this by using my dummy MIDI clips. So I got one clip here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have a total of 8 different clips here. I'm going to map these clips to this row of buttons, and these are all things that we've already done. So none of this is new just yet. So MIDI, I'll map you there. That's fine. Let's see, that'll go there. That's all good. Change my MIDI mapping, please. Yes. Some of these buttons were mapped to other locations, so that's why that little dialog box is popping up. Yup, map it there. Map that there. Map this here, and map that there. So at this point, if I launch one of these, if I play one of these pads, it's going to trigger that clip and not do anything else. That's not helpful at all. So what I want this to do is trigger a clip. That clip will trigger the next clip a beat later. When this next clip plays, it'll light up the pad corresponding to it. To do this, we're going to use something called follow action. I'm going to select all of these clips. So I got the first one selected, hold shift, select the last one. Let me move push out of the way here so y'all can see what's happening. If I mosey down to the clip properties, the lower left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to open that launch window again by hitting this L button. And in this area, beneath the clip quantization, we have an area for follow action. Follow action will make it so that each clip plays for a certain amount of time and then does something else. I want each clip to play for one beat. So these 3 boxes here, the first box is the number of bars. The second box is the number of beats. I want each clip to play for 1 beat. After that clip plays for 1 beat, I want it to play the next clip in that group. So these 2 chooser boxes, you can assign an action to the clip, play for 1 beat, and then play the next clip. That's my follow action, and now this is good to go. So now if I go ahead and I launch this clip again by hitting this button, let me go ahead and make push bigger so you can see that this really worked. I don't want you to think I'm duping you. But now we can see I have a visual metronome. And if I had a little bit less glare here, let me see if I can kind of shade this a bit. You can sort of see. There you go. So that's ticking every quarter note. And now I have a visual metronome, and I don't need to look at the computer or have an audible metronome to know exactly when the next beat is coming up. So those are some things that I use Ableton Push for. Push 2 is a huge improvement over the first version of Push. I was very vocal in my disappointment about the first version of Push, and I think the guys at Ableton know that pretty well. So the improvement of the screen, being able to edit and manipulate samples is huge. But again, with all the cool features that have been added, just having a blank user page so I can map this exactly how I want at any given time is one of the biggest features for me personally. So I hope that you guys have gotten a little bit of inspiration, some ideas on how to utilize the user mode. And if you have any questions for me, now would be the time to throw them my way. So I'm going to turn my head to the side here, and I'm going to be looking at the chat screen